Okay, Edson Braafheid, welcome. Yeah, this is the second time I'm doing this podcast. First time was with Johnny. Johnny's a partner of you. You guys are doing amazing things. Yeah, you're officially my second guest now. Obviously, I explained to you before of recording what the goal is, the purpose from this podcast. I want to, of course, inspire athletes in general to think about their finances. Finance is something that you always have to deal with. It's not something temporary, so you have to be, financial literacy is important. Financial education is important, and throughout our experiences, our mistakes, things that we've learned, I hope people in general, everyone who watch this can learn from us. So I want to start, of course, for the people who don't know you, start with the beginning. Maybe introduce yourself, where you grew up, a little bit of your background, and of course, then slowly we take it from there.
Yes. Hey, first of all, thank you for having me, man. Yeah, it's always good to give back, and nowadays finding different ways of giving back to the next gen. So yeah, great for yeah. I'm honored to be
Yeah,
here
yeah,
on this podcast. I'm Edson Braafheid. I'm 38 years old now. I was born April 8, 1983, in Suriname, Paramaribo.
yeah.
Um, Maybe, I mean, you know where it is. We have a really good group of people that were very successful in the world, and especially if you look in the background of football players,
Yeah.
the Seedorf of Kluivert, Edgar Davids, Reiziger, Ryan Babel, all these guys have been
Yeah.
big players. So I moved to the Netherlands when I was 6 years old in '89,
Mm.
and I mean, since I could walk, if I could believe the stories of my dad, I was with the ball. So from a young age, I wanted to be. When I moved to the Netherlands, I remember that at one point I got aware of I could make my hobby, the sport that I love to
Yeah.
play, I could make it my job, my
Good
work.
job.
I could make money
Yeah.
with.
Yeah.
So for me, since I got aware of that, that was the only thing that I
Yeah.
wanted to achieve
Yeah.
in life.
What
Uh,
in Holland? What was the first experience of you seeing football on TV? Which team was that? What do you remember? Do you recall your thoughts that you were like, yeah, that's what I try or want one day. That's a
oh
dream.
man, I mean, moving from Suriname to the Netherlands, Amsterdam was the city that we tried to to
Yeah,
stay in. And then yeah, the first team that you see on TV, bro, it's Ajax.
Ajax. Yeah, yeah,
Ajax. So
yeah.
and then when I got more aware of it, that's all I wanted to. I didn't even know about
Right.
PSV, Rotterdam,
Yeah,
Feyenoord, all
yeah.
these other teams. I wasn't even aware of those teams. All I know was Ajax.
Do you remember which team or which players that was that time when you could identify?
Um, that was so I think I think when I was aware of it,
Yeah,
um, it was when Seedorf actually
sure.
made his
Yeah.
debut.
I think
I
it's
think that
like
was mid.
95,
Yes,
94, 96 this time.
yes,
Yeah.
that mid '90s were around that. That's when I was aware of, you know, wow, Ajax, and I remember the short ass
Yeah.
shorts.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
had like booty shorts.
Yeah. 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 That was in style. That was in fashion.
Was the style. And I
Yeah.
remember Van Gaal being the head coach at that time,
Yeah.
that he said like the reason why is that they could move better. The
Mm.
legs, they were not obstacles for
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
the long shorts,
Right.
that but
Right.
yeah, that's my first memory of, noticing and
Yeah.
was aware of Ajax.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, these guys were definitely superheroes. I remember for our community, for everyone in Amsterdam. Like, yeah,
yeah,
that was major. That was major.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then
Okay.
I think in '69 of
Yeah.
a '96, they won the Champions League,
Champions League.
right?
Yeah.
And then the World Cup, like the whole school
Yeah.
at that time
Yes.
shut down, and we were
Yes.
like, we're gonna watch
Yes.
Ajax
We were.
playing Grêmio,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. That was
Oh man,
that.
that
That
was that
game was
was
nerve wracking. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, man,
I
long
know.
game.
I know. Yeah.
But to imagine that stuff like that only happen when important things happen in the country,
Yeah.
like the school is being shut down, they roll the TV out, in the aula,
Yes.
in the big
Yeah.
room.
Yeah.
And that only happened, yeah, when big stuff is happening,
Yeah.
events happening in the country.
Right.
So obviously there was a school in Amsterdam that I was going to at that time.
Yeah.
So we watched the whole game, man, and
Yeah.
that was insane.
Nice.
Yeah.
At one point, obviously, you notice you have talent. You start playing football. You can tell. You can kind of manage and measure with your generation of same age categories that you can play ball.
Hmm.
Um, what was the age where you felt like, okay, I feel like it's close to me. I'm close to it. I maybe have the potential to sign a contract. What age was that, and where were you playing at that moment?
Well, to be honest, I got into the professional teams quite late
Mm,
in my teenage years, as a teenager. Um, and I remember that there was an age like from 10 till
mm,
16. There was a gap where majority of the players would go
yeah,
to the to those teams, right?
yeah.
And for me, I got older and older and older, and it wasn't coming through. I remember that when I was 12 years old,
Mm,
11, I was 11, 12 years old, in the DU, that's
mm,
how they call the teams, right? That I was scouted, and I was able to uh, go and do the talented days with Ajax.
yeah,
Um, and that's when I got in the. I mean, I passed all the groups,
yeah,
the group phases, all the rounds, and then I make it until you actually could go for an intern ship for 2 weeks
right.
and actually train with your age group at the time,
With the Ajax,
and
the Ajax team.
the Ajax team,
Yeah,
and that was still at the Mirren, the
yeah,
old Ajax.
yeah.
Um, and I came in a group in a team with Kiran Behan,
Mm,
Max Lowy. I don't know if you know Max
yes,
Lowy.
yes.
Cedric Seedorf,
Cedric Seedorf, yeah.
uh, Sergio the Wind,
Sergio de Wind, yeah. Big time.
um, Nick van Nieuwenkerk.
Nick van Nieuw.
Uh, yeah, there was a very technical white dude,
Yeah,
but his back was a little bit like this,
okay.
but he was super technical.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um, so that was the generation
yeah,
then. But after 2 weeks, Ton Pronk,
yeah.
the head youth guy, he called me and said that I wasn't good enough.
Mm.
So that was a big disappointment.
What did that do with you to hear that you were not good enough at that moment?
Ooh, man, I mean, it's pretty much a dream about to come out, like playing for the team that you have been watching on TV,
Yeah,
that you have been supporting, and it's a big deal, man, playing for Ajax. it's
yeah,
it's it's
yeah.
it's I everybody in Amsterdam, if I see around me,
Mm.
even now, like, um, even the parents that you can see, like when oh, my son is playing for Ajax, it gives them a boost. So
Yeah,
even for the parents,
yeah,
it's a big deal. It's a big deal playing
yeah,
for Ajax. So
yeah,
man, when I heard the message that I wasn't um, being selected, it was heartbreaking. It
yeah.
was heartbreaking. I think at that time I didn't go to school for 2-3 days,
Okay.
and I stayed home, very
Yeah,
disappointed. And then after that, you pick yourself up. And my dad and my parents, they were very supportive, obviously, in that period too. get my mind back. Hey, there's other ways when you
Yeah.
way how you could make it.
There are more ways that lead to Rome.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly.
Right.
So at that time, after a week, the son of Ton Pronk, he was coaching at FC Apkoude, and he called me. It's like, hey Edson, I heard the message. Obviously, at FC Apkoude, we have a very good connection with Ajax. So why don't you come and play for us?
Mm.
And I'll get you ready to make that step to Ajax. That was pretty much the word.
Yeah.
So it was kind of fishy at that time, but I was like, hey, you know what? They play on the highest level in the amateur leagues.
Yeah.
Where I also was playing against Ajax, and then I had always like this type of revenge feeling,
Of course.
playing against Ajax. So, but I went there, and I actually like Regilio O'Neill, like a couple guys from there. They made the step to Ajax.
Mm.
So I was like, okay, I'm in the right spot.
It's still possible. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then season after season, it wasn't going. I wasn't being selected by any other professional teams, so I was starting to doubt myself.
Yeah.
And then when I turned 16, you know that it's pretty late.
Yeah.
Making the step.
Yeah.
But 16 years, I got an invitation from FC Utrecht. And I went there, and after one training, after one round of playing with these guys, they were convinced like, hey, you're coming to play for us next year.
Yeah.
So that was my move to FC Utrecht. And then actually it went pretty fast. I played one season. I played a half season, and they bumped me up to the A youth, playing shell competition. I don't know, that was the competition that came on TV as well. And then shortly after that, they offered
the first experience with broadcasting, like TV.
Broadcasting. Yes.
Yeah.
Did you play shell as well?
No. The time when I reached that level, it was
done.
gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do remember sitting on the bench once with this generation of Nando Rafael.
Nando Rafael. Yeah.
I never played, but I was there, and it was for me already kind of like seems like the first team. This attention, people around it, cameras. I was like, whoa, So, but yeah, I remember that was a good time.
Yeah. So Nando Rafael is one of the guys that I played against with many times. Great battles, man. What that was awesome. But yeah, so that was the first year. I did so well. I was so hungry. They made me a contract offer. First year. So that was the my introduction with becoming a professional, because as soon as you get paid, you becoming a professional.
Do you remember receiving your first contract? I don't know if you had an agent at that time, but did he disclose kind of like numbers to you? And when you saw those numbers, what were your first thoughts? Like, how was that experience? It's kind of like a reward for all these years investing, living already with the mind of, hey, one day I have to be ready. So obviously, and I can talk for myself as in, this is what I've done it for finally, all these years, not going with friends there or blah, blah, blah. And now you sign a contract. Do you recall that moment?
Absolutely. I remember the head, how you call this guy, the head guy for the youth. The head youth guy.
The head of the youth academy. Yeah.
Yes. He came to me. There was Hans van Breukelen at the time. So he was like, he loved me from the day that I came there. He's been very nice to me. He liked my style of playing, like you could see the hunger inside of me. And after when they bumped me to the A youth, he approached me. He's like, hey Edson, I think it's time for you to look into getting a manager, because on a short time they will approach you and give you a professional contract, a youth contract. like
Yeah.
the youth contract. So I mean, at that's like you said, like that's what you're doing it for.
Yeah.
The goal is to become this professional soccer player, like the sport that you love doing as a hobby. It
Mm.
becomes your work. It becomes your job. Um, and yeah, that's a dream that was was about to come true.
Yeah.
So super excited. I did remember, looking into like, okay, hey, they had some people that they suggested. We
Mhm.
looked into that people, and one of that person came forward. Um, I don't think I need to say the name of the manager.
It's not necessary if you don't want. No problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
um, but like you said, like my dad has always been on my side,
Yeah.
you know. So when it comes to the numbers thing, that was my dad that
Okay.
had to deal for me. Like I wasn't aware of,
You were
you
not
know,
really involved in what. Okay. Okay.
the only thing that I know, because if you ask me like the numbers that I know that at that time I was making 3, 4 times as much as both of my parents together.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So for at that time for me, like
Of course. Of course.
coming out of a family that has been struggling financially,
Of course.
my dad and my mom's had 2 jobs, growing up. I was like, geez, that's a lot of money.
Of course. Yeah. It's
you
already
know
life changing for us. Yeah.
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 So um
Let me
that
ask
was
you.
not
Let
that
me
was
ask
not
you
my
directly.
sorry.
Let me ask you directly this question so you can follow up with that also.
Yeah.
So, like you said, you realize like, hey, this is already like a lot of like it's a life changing event for me and the family, right?
Yeah.
How how did your parents deal with that towards you? Were you directly able to manage your finances directly, or were they kind of like, Edson, we going to protect you from this and guide you? Like how did it went for you?
So at that time, it was you get a youth contract, but because you're not 18 years old,
Oh
you're
yeah.
not allowed to make um, um, officially. You're not allowed to receive that much money
Oh yeah.
because you're still not an adult.
Right.
But because they were the numbers were
Numbers.
adult worthy salary.
Right.
Um, so what they did is that I think it was 75% or 80%. I don't know exactly the number, but a big majority of the part of the money would they would keep that. They would put that in a safe.
Okay.
That would be arranged by the club. It would be
Yeah.
sent to this account. They would freeze it there,
Right.
and then when I turned 18,
They would release.
I was able to get that.
Yeah.
So that was not my first interaction with money though.
Okay.
So my first interaction with money was when I was 13 years old. When I went to FC Apkoude,
Mm.
my team manager, he had a, a newspaper business where I became a paperboy.
Mm.
So that was 5 days a week.
Yeah.
So after school, I would come back, take my bike, and ride for 45 minutes from southeast of
Yeah.
Amsterdam to Apkoude.
Yeah.
Do the run the papers in the neighborhood. That would cost me like maybe. I always challenge myself and put goals for myself. So I started with an hour,
Mm.
and then I wanted to obviously do it as fast as I could.
Yeah.
So at one point, I start getting good at rolling the papers, put them in the in the mailboxes,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I got to between 35 minutes and 40 minutes
Oh.
delivering close to 100 papers,
Wow.
so 100 houses.
What
You
was
know,
what were you earning roughly with
um,
things?
that was about. I know that I had like between 250 and 300 a month.
Yeah. And that if I'm not mistaken, it was gulden still.
Guldens,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. The
It
Dutch
was guldens.
Dutch currency at that time.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So, So I mean, for that
It was
age,
a lot.
man,
Yeah, I know.
you know,
I know. It was a lot.
um, but like I said, for me, what I did with the money was, you know, majority of it I will give to my parents because, at that time we didn't really, we were struggling financially. So every little bit that I was able to add to it,
Yeah,
for them to make a house and,
yeah,
take care of us,
yeah,
me and my brother,
yeah.
I was happy to help. Um, and then I would keep like 50, 60 guldens.
Yeah.
And I remember that it's funny because this story comes back a lot lately. I
Uh-huh.
don't know, I don't know why.
Yeah.
Um, you start buying things that matters to you,
Mm.
you know. And I always had some things with boxer shorts and socks.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
it's weird, but obviously, you wanna, in that period, you don't have uh uh clothes wise, you don't we didn't had a lot,
Mm.
we managed with what we got. But still important was for me that I had cool boxer shorts.
Right.
Nobody sees it or whatever, it's just for
For
me,
yourself. Yeah.
for myself,
Yeah.
and good socks, nice socks,
Yeah.
so that was something that uh and I don't know if you know the brand Bjorn Borg.
Oh yeah. Of course. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know
Great option.
so
Option.
at that time those were like
Yeah. If you
like
had them on, you were in a different league. Yeah. Yes. I know. I know. I remember because
so
I wasn't able to get these for a very very
they
long
were
time.
expensive as well.
I know. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
were expensive as
Yeah.
well.
It was.
So I
Yeah.
think one of them was like 12 and a half
Yeah.
guldens
Yeah.
at the time.
Was probably equivalent back then as 10 euros something probably. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Shit, even Calvin Klein, man, was
Yeah. I know. I know. Yeah. No, that was a big deal. That's a big deal.
so
Yeah.
and I just like the white socks, like the white Adidas socks, for example,
Mm.
you know. Um so those were the small things that, and then obviously keep the rest on school, getting lunch,
Yeah.
back in the day that was a big deal that you were able to get like a cool, nice, good sandwich on school.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um and the rest would go to my mom and my dad. So that was my first interaction with
Yeah.
money.
What if you recall, what lessons did you got from your parents regarding money, regarding handling money? What um, yeah, what do you remember from that?
Saving,
Saving, huh?
saving.
Saving.
That
And
was
and
that was
and, and
all what my
did they
parents
all
were about
did they
me.
also told you how to save, or was it just save it? Don't spend nothing, save everything.
Yep.
Everything.
Yeah.
So
Obviously because my parents also wanted me to enjoy a little bit of the hard work that I had put in,
yeah,
right? Coming from a place like say financially not the best, they also wanted me to enjoy a little bit, but majority of my money was saving,
yeah,
saving,
yeah,
saving,
yeah.
savings.
Okay. And in terms of the saving, do you recall that it was saving towards a bigger goal, or it was just saving because of they told you to save? Like, do you remember why you were actually saving?
Because from the experience of my parents,
Mm-hmm.
the goal was saving for the rainy days,
Mm.
saving
Yeah, yeah,
for for when shit hit the fence,
yeah, right,
pretty much.
yeah,
And at that time I'm like, when shit hit the fence,
yeah,
life, what
yeah,
do you know about life?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
you know but later on my dad always was like, you want to save for the rainy days. For
right,
example, we're living in a house, the wash machine
right,
breaks. That's a necessary thing to have in the
yeah,
household. Otherwise, you go back to old school, washing the
exactly,
clothes on your hand.
yeah,
It's a lot of time.
yeah,
So you want to save time. So for something like that, a washing machine is not a cheap thing, like that you need to pay out of pocket.
yeah,
when it break down,
Yeah.
it's not in the normal plans of your
Yeah.
household monthly, on your
Yeah.
monthly household.
Yeah.
So small things like that,
Right.
he was like, be ready when you save,
Yeah.
that you don't have a setback.
Right.
You
Were
can pull
you
from.
were you disciplined with this, or did you have times where you'd be like, I'm going to touch a little bit from the pot and try to buy myself something nice? Or
Here and there I
yeah.
was slipping, yeah,
Okay.
here and there, but um my parents always also, they gave me a certain of freedom,
Okay.
to especially also make my own mistakes,
Okay.
you know. So my parents were always like on it, like they control the accounts and everything.
Yeah.
They had vision on what is being taken.
Yeah.
So when they see like €100, €200 extra is
Yeah.
missing, and they were like, "Hey, what did you do?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Just be open, transparent. Like, "Hey, what did you do?" "Well, I saw a nice pants and I wanted it." Uh, okay,
Right.
So, but they were always, the control part was always there, to check up on me, and not like, "Oh, you're not allowed to do this, do this," but more like, "Okay, hey, be smart,"
Yeah. Yeah.
smart about it.
Fast forward, you're reaching professional football, first team FC Utrecht. You are now, few months in. You have a contract. Um, let's go to a time where you're now moving out.
Hmm.
Your first experience in living by yourself,
Hmm.
taking responsibility. So now you have expenses, right? Because I don't know if you already bought a house or if you were renting, but now you have costs,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Um, you have you at one point you get a driver's license, so you can probably pick out a car.
Hmm.
What describe this time for you? It's a new world because obviously first you're home, you have no real responsibilities. Now you're going outside, and the world is now on your feet. You decide what time you come home. You decide how you spend your time besides football. What
Hmm.
describe those times for me, and what did it feel to be free and have finances now, accessible and more than average people, right? So what did it?
Um, I was 19 when I bought my first house.
Mhm.
Um, was I 19? No, I'm sorry. I made my debut when I was 20 and a half, and I bought my house uh, a couple months after. So between, yeah, 20 and 21, I bought
Mhm.
my first house. Um, I went, I had a relationship, my girlfriend, my ex-wife, that became my wife a couple years after that, and now ex-wife.
Yeah.
Um, so I started living together, and yeah, the responsibilities of monthly payments that are coming on your shoulders now.
Yeah.
You know, I saved a lot. I was able to buy a house, mortgage though, not paid off. I paid off a big part of it.
Yeah.
Also with the savings that I had done, with all those years.
Yeah.
Um, um, but to be honest, I wasn't really aware of the investment that I was actually doing.
Mm.
You know, um, buying a house was more like, at that time, I saw it as a privilege, going from the old nest,
Yeah.
going into your own, and was able to buy a house.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And when I see around my age group, and the same people who are still living with the parents, or when they went on their own, they were renting.
Right.
you know
Right.
so being aware of that, I was able to do that.
You
i
were in a
was
position.
I was, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was one part. I have been with the process of, um, um, getting the mortgage, going to the notary, setting up my monthly payments and all that stuff.
Mm.
Um, and majority of it, my dad really helped me.
Okay.
So I had someone that actually was um, doing it for me, and I was there,
Yeah.
but doing it for me.
Right.
Um, um, but for me at that time, I trust my dad. I trust my dad. He did a great job.
Yeah.
Afterwards, I wish I was more aware of
Mm.
the small details.
Okay. Okay.
You know.
Because what I wanted to ask at that time, I remember growing up, and I had no clue why they would say that, because I at that moment I still wasn't really actually involved with direct finances. My parents always said, like, never take debt from the bank.
Mm,
Where, like, kind of put this anxiety and made me kind of like put in fear on me, like, don't want debts with the bank.
mm,
But I heard you saying you had a mortgage. You were not like, at that time, or your parents, they understood what a mortgage would mean at that time for you to buy a house. They didn't had no feeling like, no, 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 if you buy a house, buy it full, and then it's yours. Or
mm. So at that time,
yeah.
um, in baby language, how they explain it to me
Mm.
was like, um, it's like a saving kind of process, you
Okay.
know. So that was the main thing how they explain it to me.
Okay. Yeah.
A good reason, yes, you are borrow money from the bank,
But
you
you
know
paid it off.
and you pay it back, you pay it
Yeah.
off like monthly.
Yeah.
But when it becomes time, or you want to sell the house, you know that's a savings that is guaranteed you get back.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So it's a it's a very simple way of saving money.
Yes. Yes.
you know
I hear you.
with Now I know that the equity of the house,
Mm.
the worth of the house is
Mm.
is going up.
Yeah.
So on top of that, I don't know if you hear the cleaning ladies vacuum. It's gonna be a
Um,
couple
now
minutes,
that
but
you
I
mentioned,
don't.
I hear it far, but it's not annoying though. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's something that I realize now. At that time, I didn't realize it.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
But to me, how they explain it to me is an easy way to save money.
Yes.
You know. So and that sounded really good to me.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I had the finances to pay that off easily monthly,
Yeah.
and save on my own as well,
Yes.
you know.
So you're saying
So
from two sides.
yes, yes.
Right.
So
Okay.
that's was how it was explained
Yeah.
to me.
Your first purchase that you.
Sorry that I interrupt you, because
Yeah.
when you say scared about debt, I remember something very well.
Okay.
Credit cards. My parents were like,
Yeah.
stay away from freaking
Okay. Yeah.
credit cards,
Exactly.
So that's maybe similar
Similar. Yeah. Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
debt problems.
No,
Yeah.
that's true. That's true. That was one of the very first things. Also, my parents told me, like, stay away from credit cards. Like,
Mhm.
just pay it directly if you have it, and if you cannot afford it, don't buy it.
Stay away from it. Yes.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
simple. Yeah.
Um, you're a young football player. You're living on your own. You have everything under control. You have a house. You have a car. What car were you driving that time? Do you remember?
I was leasing a car from the club.
From a club. Do you remember
Yes, I
what car
did.
it was?
It was they had the brand Renault.
Renault. Oh yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. They
when
were
I
nice cars. I remember. They were nice cars back in the day. Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes. So
yeah,
at that time, the Renault Megane
yeah.
Sport.
Oh yeah, I
You
remember.
know,
Oh my god.
when I came with the first team,
Yeah.
your budget for the cars is going
Yes.
up.
Yeah.
Um, so I remember taking my
Yeah.
very first car was the Renault Megane Sport,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's a cool
Right.
experience.
Right. So you're now in this phase of your life. You're the start of your career. Um, what is um what is a purchase or an expense that you had this time that you did that you kind of like, if I could take it back, I wouldn't do that anymore. Maybe a purchase and a clothing item or something else, a gadget or something that you did for someone else. You know, like now you kind of you're comfortable. You know, you didn't had access or you didn't had money before because, like you said, you understood where you came from, but now all of a sudden, hey, you know, you're comfortable. Do you remember a purchase or shopping that you did that you'd be like, now if I could do it over, I wouldn't necessarily do it. But you got a little bit sloppy because you had access to more finances than normal.
So to be honest, man, um, yes, I was able to, um, when it comes to um, fashion and stuff like that, I've always liked that part,
Okay.
fashions and wearing the brands that I like,
Mm,
but I wasn't extreme in it,
mm,
like um, I was always getting in small bit, like, okay, if I buy a pants now at that time for 150 or 180
mm.
euros at that time, the currency change from
Yeah,
golden to euros.
yeah,
Um, that was a big thing already,
right.
so at that time, um, I wasn't a big spender. It started when I made my way to FC Twente,
Mm,
and that's where I started making a lot more. Um, that's when the Audi Q7 came out,
mm,
and I was like, okay. At that time, um, we needed a second car,
mm-hmm,
because for my wife, um, she driving around the kids, you know.
mm,
Um, um, so we bought a second car. I won't. It's so hard to say like I regret it,
mm.
but it would maybe be a smarter thing to like not get an expensive car like a Q7,
Okay, okay.
because it was a big jump. It was
Yeah,
a
I
big jump
remember
of
that.
money.
Yeah,
You know, the
yeah,
Q7 just came out.
yeah, yeah. That was
You
a big
know,
thing. Yeah.
so but it was for me like at that time. I remember like, hey, I'm doing well. You
Mm,
know, reward yourself. And get a nice car.
right.
I've always been a car lover.
Yeah.
Um, so that something that I got from my dad. Always
Yeah.
taking care of his cars and
Yeah.
driving nice cars. So there was something I would say like, ooh, that big chunk of a money,
Mm,
I could have used it better or not pay that big of a chunk of money for that Q7.
yeah. 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 Okay. Friends. You it's very common that when someone makes it out, yeah, the hood, to describe it like that, older friends tend to kind of change their behavior around you. Did you
Mhm.
experience something similar that now they trying to move a little bit different, or they certain expectations came? Did you had bad experiences with that when your life changed for the better?
Um, yeah, yeah. I would say friends and family.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they see you doing well in
Mm-hmm.
life. Um, they seeing that your lifestyle that I was living, the lifestyle, my parents, my family. My family. I talk about my mom, my dad, my brother, my sister. You
Mm-hmm.
know, um, um, like I have always helped my parents.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to because yeah, in the time of having financial struggles, sometimes they had to make that for us to survive.
Yeah.
So those that I made sure to pay off. Um, so my parents would have a little bit more of space to breathe and to
Yeah.
live their life a little bit as well.
Yeah.
Um, um, but I was never, my parents always prepared me as well, like, hey, I think of the Spider-Man quote with big financially comes big responsibilities,
Right.
but he is like with big
Yeah.
that quote is different, but so that's also like be aware of people that are coming, and like they prepared me for
Right.
people did contact, like, hey, I'm dealing with this, can I borrow this, can I borrow that.
How did
um
you deal with that? Was that difficult for you to say no, or did you always say yes and you kind of felt some type of way with saying yes? Because in the back of your mind, you were like, I'm not sure if I want to help this person at the moment.
so to be honest, man, it's a very sensitive
It is.
topic, and for me what it's not a disrespect to my family or to friends,
Of course not.
okay, but for me it was really like, hey man, when I talk about my family, my dad, my mother, my brother, my sister, we went together through a difficult time,
Yeah.
you know and we were the only one that were like making sure that it worked.
Right.
My parents, they fought and struggled to make sure that it worked at the end of the day,
Yeah.
without help of, there was like getting money. That was not something my parents like asking for money and stuff. It
Yeah.
was not something
Yeah.
they did. So we were able to manage, out of that. And there's always a way, and asking for money is the easiest way,
Right. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Um, so it was it was not difficult for
Right.
me to say like, hey man,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
don't think I
Yeah.
can help
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
with this,
Did
you
you have
know.
situations where you did help and did want to help, and that the person that borrowed money from you and promised you to, let's say, get it back at a certain time frame, couldn't come up with the borrowed money back to you?
Um,
Then there were that.
later,
Yeah.
later, yes,
Okay.
later in my career,
Yeah.
um, and those were not
Right.
small
Right.
things, but that's, when you think you're borrowing as an investment
Mm.
kind of thing,
Okay.
and then
You mean people came to you for money for a business or something, and then right.
yeah,
Right.
like, oh, you'll get it back.
Yeah.
Also, you will invest, so you will make money off it as well.
Right. Right.
But that was later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I remember that, man, I remember that when I hit Bayern Munich,
Mm.
it came in the newspapers, that I signed uh, a 3-year contract
Yeah.
with Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I signed a 4-year contract
Right.
with Bayern Munich. Um, that's when all the fishes came.
All the piranhas.
Yes,
Yeah.
came, and at that time, it's never an easy thing to say like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't help you,
Yeah. No, it's not
you
easy.
know. But I did had, like, my parents prepared me, and a lot of things is like, hey, my money, I don't control my money.
Yeah. Exactly.
My money is being controlled,
Right. Right.
you know. So that was always an easy way for me to escape,
Yeah.
because I can't get to that money,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Right.
Um, um, but as a human being, you always feel some type of way,
It's not easy.
to it's not easy, people coming to you for help,
Yeah.
um, some with a sincere, serious story and reason,
Yeah.
you know. um and some with the craziest stories, man.
Mm.
Just to maybe manipulate, maybe convince you to give money.
Yeah.
But I also know that if I start giving one person money,
Mm.
it's gonna be more.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to get into that,
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
never did
Okay.
until
Yeah.
late.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're named Bayern Munich. You had the privilege to go to such a giant team, the best team in Germany, one of the best teams in Europe. Um, as you know, being a football player um, comes with a certain status. The way you show yourself, the way you showcase yourself on and off the pitch. You know, you have to look fly, you have to look good, you have to look presentable. Um, did that type of pressure? Did you feel a certain type of anxiety that you felt like, hey, now that I have a certain status, also playing for the Dutch team, um, I need to kind of show, also live by it, meaning in terms of, okay, I need to, drive a better car. I need to maybe wear more expensive clothes because otherwise they're going to look at me like, hey, what's going on with this guy? Like, did you felt a certain pressure that you felt like, hey, it's kind of like competition with other football players as well, so I have to kind of like, you got dragged with that type of lifestyle also, or yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah. The expectation of a lifestyle of a football player.
Yeah. Yeah.
I eventually I got sucked into that.
Yeah.
Um, First of all, I don't blame anybody else but myself, in that case.
Mm.
But it's something that is out there.
Right.
It's something that it's out there. It's what expectation is, what the world you think
Yeah.
a lot of times that's what people expect.
Yeah.
If you come to an event or if you go to the club, like even the culture in the team.
Yeah.
There was a time, there was a meme that was going like, oh, what are those?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you don't want to be that guy that
Exactly. Yeah.
we're gonna be, oh, what is that? And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
unfortunately, sad is that the culture that around the whole expectation of a lifestyle of a football player
Yeah.
is there,
Yeah.
and it's not always a good one. It
Mm.
doesn't always has a good effect on the players,
Yeah.
especially the players, and I'm guilty of that, that are being sucked into it.
Right.
You know, the peer pressure of of keeping up.
Yeah. I hear you. Yeah.
Keeping up with with the lifestyle,
Yeah.
and it's
No, I
very
can
expensive
totally
lifestyle.
relate, of course. And I think yeah, most football players obviously suffering from that type of lifestyle.
The peer pressure.
The peer pressure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not easy to
people.
say,
Yeah,
I'm just going to be myself, and if this is what I like to wear, this is what I like to wear. This is what I like to drive. This is what I like to drive. It's not easy. Yeah.
well, I think like, it's about style, it's about taste,
Yeah.
it's about what you like,
Yeah.
and man, I got some expensive taste,
Mhm.
about stuff that I like,
Yeah.
but it is something that you gotta ask yourself, like, um, um, is it worth it to have different type of Rolexes, different type of Hublots, different type of, you can only wear one at
Right.
the same time.
Right.
I mean, nowadays I see there's a lifestyle that people are wearing two, three watches on
Yeah.
each,
Yeah.
each wrist.
Yeah.
But so with that, I lost myself. I'm a huge sneaker fan. I love sneakers. Like, I don't need to have a Louis, I can have a Louboutin, but I don't need to have 12 pairs
I hear you.
of Louboutins,
Yeah. 12 pairs of shoes. Yeah, I hear you.
of shoes.
Yeah.
You know, like not shoe. Like you can have different shoes. You have
Yeah.
different occasions. You can have a sneaker, a boots, you know.
Yeah.
But 12 pairs of Louboutin on the high top
Right.
shoe, the
Right.
same model, and you have it different colors.
Right. Yeah. 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 I hear you.
So that's what I like looking back
Yeah.
at how I have been spending money.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, because that was my next question. If you look back at mistakes,
mhm.
spending habits, mistakes, then you would categorize those type of spending habits as mistakes. Then, like you would maybe not do it as quick anymore if you could do it all over.
No,
No. Yeah.
no. Those are yeah,
Mm.
mistakes. I would say bad decisions.
Mm.
You know, because a mistake
Yeah.
happens once.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
You know, and from a mistake, you hope to learn from that mistake.
Yeah.
These were how you say that repeatedly me taking bad decisions.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
You know, in buying more than actually what I needed.
Yeah.
Cars, for example.
Right.
Cars,
Right.
like at one point I had 4 cars in my carport, like 4 cars.
Yeah.
And like brands that like cars build out, call it, name it.
Yeah.
And all those cars were above 100 grand.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
if you think about it, like man, how, like if I look back, like how could I be doing that? Like why? Like
Mm.
in a sense, but once again, in
Yeah.
that moment,
Yeah.
you think that that's
Yeah. What
know,
standing here today, what do you feel like you haven't done in terms of
I can be very simple in that.
what's that?
Investing the right way.
Right.
Investing the right way. Let my money make money for me.
Right.
Um,
Did you not do it at all, or did you not do it enough?
I didn't do it enough.
Okay.
So I had the, you know, I had a couple houses, you know, that I bought at the time. So those, like, I wasn't even aware, like, okay, that's making money for me,
Okay.
you know.
Yeah.
But being more aware of, you know, I think something that is going around now that is very a big topic now, like, hey, how can I let my money make money for me?
Yeah.
You know,
How can you put your money to work?
yes.
Yeah.
You know, and man, if you think about it,
Mm.
like how privileged I am to earn so much money for my age and in a time frame of my life,
Yeah.
to blow it out,
Mm.
you know, instead of like making these better decisions of investing
Right.
where I can maintain a certain lifestyle,
Right. Right.
you know, because there was a moment that I have to admit that when I was making money,
Mm.
salary wise, um, that you spend so much
Mm.
in a month and you go to your bank account and you see that even a tenth of a percent, like 10 or 20% of what you make that month,
Mm.
is like 80% is still left
Mm.
when I have been spending
Crazy.
a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's where
Can kind of get lost a little bit.
yes,
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
you know, like, oh man, it's still 80% is still left from what I spent already. Like,
Yeah.
wow, it's not how you say that, um there's no end to it.
Mm.
It seems endless then.
Yeah. I know that feeling. I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
where
I think that's the I think that's the mistake a lot of football players are making, right? To because I remember also being in a time like if I can lay down my thought process for you, I was like it's fine. Next month it will be refilled again. I'm 24. I play for at least another 10 years. I'm fine. Like this month, it's fine. Let's go crazy. It's fine. I'm good. Right. So that idea of I have so much time and there's so much more coming in, you're fine. You can do crazy stuff right now, or you can spend. You think you want to tell yourself it's okay to go crazy right now. Right.
yes,
Yeah. I,
yes.
I, I know. I know.
And that's where
Yeah.
you're being sucked in.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
where you're being sucked in.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
um, you're not even being aware of a certain lifestyle where you can just spend
Mm,
until that day comes that you cannot spend.
right.
And then you have to transform to like, ooh,
Yeah.
what now?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Um, the transition from being a football player, receiving a football salary into because you're retired officially.
mm-hmm.
That transition of that lifestyle and also that financial income, that stable monthly income into a new life after football.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how was that experience for you and that transition? Were you was it a total shock as in like oh my god what now, or were
Mm-hmm.
you able to kind of prepare your mind for life after football?
Um, so during my career, I went through a couple, uh, um, my career went like this.
Yeah.
So um, I had a, for example, I had a divorce in
Mm.
my career, with my ex-wife. And with divorce comes, yeah, financial
Financial
responsibility,
expenses, yeah.
expenses, exactly, financial expenses.
Yeah.
Um, so that showed me already like, oh, okay, uh, a big amount of, is going towards divorce, ex-wife, kids,
Mm.
etc. Um, what I've noticed is that um, um, Bayern Munich, Hoffenheim, Lazio, I was still making good money,
Mm.
you know, a little bit less every time,
Mm.
you know. And then I came to Utrecht after that, and it was a lot less,
Yeah.
you know. So I was able to adjust my lifestyle every time,
Okay.
you know.
Makes sense.
And
Yeah.
that I think that helped me a little bit of, like, obviously the money you were making before you're not making anymore,
Mm.
so your expenses, and you get older. I was in a process of getting older. I was getting in a process of blowing out a lot of money,
Mm.
and getting more aware of like, ooh, that's not bringing me anywhere.
Mm.
So I start getting wiser,
Yeah.
and was able to reduce my expenses of
Yeah.
giving up.
Okay.
So when that helped me a little bit to get to the process where I am now. I'm retired, and um, I'm living a a good life, but not a crazy life,
Yeah.
like with expenses that are out of the door.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I can, because I'm not gonna be able. The incomes are not the same, like you said. The incomes
Yeah.
are not the same.
Yeah.
So um, so obviously, and that's, I think something that is important is um, the mental pressure of finance.
Mm.
what is the perfect word to explain that? The financial pressure,
Mm,
what it does to you mentally wise.
right.
Um, um, and for me, I was able to adjust.
Okay.
Um, for some people, they are at the highest point and then they stop.
And then they stop. Yeah. That's where a lot of players fall into this black hole. The transition is too big.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Maybe. Yeah.
luckily for me, to be honest,
You're kind of slowly adjusting already.
yes. So it didn't came from one to the other day, you
Right.
know. But in a lot of situations that happens
Yeah.
where players are, let's say at that moment when you had this mindset, this thought of like, oh, I have 10 years.
Mm,
And then suddenly it doesn't happen 10 years.
yeah.
Shit hit the fence
Yeah.
next day,
Yeah.
injury,
Yeah.
stuff, call it. Because in this career, football, an accident is right around the corner,
Right around the corner. Yeah.
So um, that's a very dangerous situation where
Yeah.
you don't want to get into, and I think it all has to do with being aware on a young age where you realize what type of privilege you have.
Mm,
You don't only have the privilege to be a soccer player, you
yeah.
have the privilege to do something with it financially for you, your family, for a lifetime.
Yeah. Right.
How do you do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the main question, I think.
That's a good question. Yeah. Last question.
There's different ways to go to Rome, right? What you
Oh,
said.
for sure. Yeah. For sure, yeah. Well, last question, right? With all the experience, things that you have seen, um, things that you now know, what you would do differently. What is advice that you give to? I want to dedicate this interview to upcoming football players who are very close to step into this world of being a professional football player.
Mhm.
What is the advice that you can give them in terms of being a football player, but also at the same time, like, hey, a new world is going to open for you as person, fame, financially, a whole different ball game. What is your advice for them?
Man, there's a couple of things that I would like to say to these young, talented players that are coming up.
Mm,
I'll try to sum it up in one sentence.
yeah.
But first, I would like to say there's more than your career,
Mm,
you know. And if you are aware that there is more than your career,
mm-hmm.
that will help you to live your life and your decisions that you make, that it is more than your career,
Right.
right?
Right.
So I would like to go like, why would I not live from day to day in my career what a lot of footballers have, because they want to be focused on the game,
Mm,
you know? Um, um, if I have the mindset of, hey, there is more than my career only, and my career is, if you're lucky and if you take good care of yourself and you're serious and devoted and uh, um, serious about your career, you can have a career at least 15 and maybe 20 years.
yeah. Yeah.
But after that, you're still gonna be what, 35?
Right.
Let's take the average player that stops playing 35, and then you have a whole lifetime ahead of you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so live with that in your mindset.
Right.
So all your decisions are based on that long term,
Right. Right.
you know, because when if I look at myself,
Mm-hmm.
I was a short term thinker
Mm.
for a long time,
Yeah.
you know, and my
Most of us are.
behaviors and my actions and my decisions
Yeah.
were based on short term.
Yeah. Most of us are though, because if you also look at the climate, how we grew up, if you compare that to a lot of people we now have met over the years who were fortunate to have parents who were already in that type of climate,
Mm,
they go into seeing long term already, right?
mhm,
So
mm,
now that the experience that we have, we are trying to teach our kids.
exactly.
But yeah, so no, I totally hear you. I totally hear
So it's more like um a guidance, like a tool, you know,
you.
to
Yeah,
change your mindset into your lifestyle, into your decisions.
yeah,
Um, and man, nowadays there is so much out there where take the time to educate yourself into
yeah,
these things. You know, investment. What is an investment about? Like, take your time to invest in educate
yeah,
yourself because it's really gonna be worth it.
yeah,
You know, and
yeah.
that also comes from the mindset of long term.
Yes,
You know, so educate yourself. Uh, Obviously, be in the moment of your career. Be aware of that.
yeah,
Um, but know that after your career, there
right,
is a, a life
yeah,
after the career. So um, this there are so many examples there um, that you can learn from guys that have done it well and guys that have done it not well.
mm,
Um, um, do some research. Do
yeah,
research about the good guys and the bad guys. What did the guys do that it went bad? What did the guys do that it went good? You
yeah,
know, everything is right there in front of you to grab.
yeah. No, I hear you.
And
Yeah,
so that would be obviously there's a lot more. You go in details about certain directions,
mm,
but I think this is you know my overall answer
yeah,
that you know if you can create a why,
mm,
you know if you have a why, and my why is think long term,
right. I
you
agree.
know, because from long term, my why from long term is gonna show up in my actions, my behavior, my mentality, my decisions, everything, my lifestyle, um, and that's something that is can stay close to you,
Mm,
who you are, how you want to do things.
yeah, yeah.
So that
That's
would be
I
my answer.
want to thank you. I heard a lot of wisdom. I heard a lot of experience in the way you describe things. Um, um, I even, hear things that I actually learn from. Um, and I'm sure a lot of people watching this, podcast interview, however you want to call it, I think they can definitely take a lot of good advice and bits away from what you shared. Um, Thank you for sharing. And yeah, was a good talk. Was a good talk. Yeah,
Anytime, man.
yeah,
Anytime, Ryan. Yeah. Once again, thank you for having me here.
yeah,
Um, I think I think seriously, this is a great way of preparing the next generations that are coming. Because, like I said, there's a lot out there, you know.
yeah,
So keep up
yeah,
the good work, and whenever you need me, I'm there.
yeah. Brother, thank you.
Thank you, bro. Later.